Hello everyone, it's Pat at Beads and Plenty More, and today I'm going to talk about making this bracelet. We've used a red, antique red, burgundy red crystal and gunmetal seed beads. It's gunmetal like this, and a magnetic clasp. Now this is like a daisy chain stitch, so it's not a difficult stitch, and it just once you get going, it goes quite quickly. Just a matter of mastering the first few stitches. So I used a magnetic clasp on it, and these kind of burgundy red, they're beautiful. They're not a bright red, but they're not also a burgundy. They're kind of halfway in between. It's a 5mm, and we do have a few other colors in the store that are in that same size. I'll just move this out of the way so you can see these other colors, and those would also work. Or you can adjust the seed bead numbers, and you could end up using any size of crystal in there. Just have to do a little bit different number of beads on the outside. So we'll get started. I use a meter of Fireline, 6 pound. It is enough to do the whole bracelet. And so I've split my magnetic clasp because working with the 1/2 is easier than having to have it grabbing onto things too quickly. So what we do with the 1/2, I'm going to pick up 2 seed beads. I'm going to go through the magnetic clasp, the top of that, and it sits like that. And then we're going to go down to the other end of the thread here. Make sure I don't go off the end, of course. And I'm going to go all the way back through all of these so that I get a second round inside the clasp. There we go. Pull that up. Now I'm going to tie the 2 ends in between the two twos. Okay, so we'll go around, do at least 2 knots, if not 3, and bring that up so that it gets rid of all the excess thread. Two and a third knot just for extra security. So then to get started with our pattern, I've got that knot sitting in there between the 2 twos of the seed beads. I'm going to go through this seed bead here and try and pop that knot inside that bead if I can. Give it a really good hard tug. Yeah, I think I got it. And now I'm going to show you a different tool that we haven't worked with before to get rid of this excess thread. Just snap my magnetic clasp on there, and this is the thread zap, which will get rid of the excess thread. And I'm going to, you push the button to activate it, and I'm going to use another pair of pliers here to hold the end so that I don't burn my finger, and that it heats up fairly quickly. So that got rid of a big piece of it, and then we'll just work down to get rid of that, a little bit more of that. I like to do it in 1 or 2 stages there. Takes that extra little bit off, and then it cools down when you release the start button. So get rid of these pliers, I don't need them anymore. So now we're ready to get started doing the design. So first of all, I'm going to pick up 5 seed beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1 crystal. So we pull that down towards my beginning unit here. Okay, so you can see that. And then I'm going to, this will roll around this way, you see, so that the crystal sits in the middle. And I'm going to go through the other side here in this direction. So when I pull that up, it brings the crystal down and it's half covered. So then I pick up another 5, and these 5 are going to go on this side of the crystal, so I'll catch this seed bead on the top of the crystal. So bring that up nice and snug, and each time you need to make sure you tighten the thread so that it sits into a nice little pocket there. So that's the first little unit. Pick up 5 again, and 1 crystal, and this time we're coming out from that bead there that I joined, and I'm going to go into this one on this side. It took me a few tries to get this to work with the right number of seed beads and going into the right little seed bead. I was going into the opposite one and it would not sit right. So maybe you have to give it a little bit of trial and error. Another 5, and we go through the top here. So as long as when you sit your beads up, as long as they look like they're circling your crystal, you're doing it right. And if they're crisscrossing and not sitting nice and flat like that, then we have to probably go through a different bead. You're hitting the wrong bead. So I'll do one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seed beads, 1 crystal, and so again we see that the thread's coming out of that bead there, so I need to go into this bead here, which basically makes a circle, come out and around and into a circle. And of course the thread likes to loosen up each time. You have to give it a good hard tug to get it nice and tight. And then to finish the other side, we complete that side. 5 again, and into this side. And again, I like to wrap around my finger and give it a good tug because you want that, get rid of any excess thread. So you keep going until you get the length you want, and then we're going to finish the other half of the clasp the same as I did this side. But I'll stop and do the rest of the bracelet and come back and show you how to do the other end. We also made this into a kit. We called it the Crystal Daisy Chain. So if you're interested in buying all the pieces as a kit, we have that ready. So see you soon. Okay, so here we are at the other end of the bracelet, and I've got my last little unit done. So now I'm going to pick up the 2 seed beads and go through the other half of the magnetic clasp. We're going to do this exactly the same way that we did the first side, 2 on the other side, and then I want to circle back through these again to oh, they haven't got down there. There we are. Circle back through to make sure that I get a nice tight clasp, because you want to be sure that we don't have that clasp breaking the thread too quickly, or if ever. So now I've got to tighten that thread up so that I get rid of all the excess thread. Yes, I use that technique of wrapping around my finger and then pulling hard. This thread is quite sturdy, so it doesn't hurt to do that. So I've gone through the 2 times. Oops, we've unthreaded the needle. So that's always a nuisance if that happens, but it does happen. There we are. So now I'm just going to end the thread by going back into some of the work here. So it's coming out there. So I want to follow the thread line, which will go over here and go through there. Oh, I missed one. So if you need to go back, it's always a good idea to use the back end of the needle to back your thread out. Another good hint. So I missed this one. We'll have to go through this one first. Can't get in there. There we are. Go through there. Snug it up. And carry on and go through it a little further. So once you've gone a little ways away from your clasp, then we're going to do slip knots, which is you go through underneath and go through that loop and make sure that it drops down where the needle came out. We don't want to have it overlapping the thread. There we go, right in between there. So that's a slip knot, and you want to do at least 2 or 3 of those when you're finishing your thread, or 2 minimum. And then I always recommend never cutting next to a knot either. So you can run a little bit extra thread through so that you don't end up right beside a knot. I'll go through that one. My thread's getting a little short here. There we are. Now we'll do another slip knot here. So go under the thread and you want to go through that little circle there. Tighten it up really tight, and then, as I say, don't cut right beside a knot. So we'll go over there and I'll pull the thread out, and I'll show you my handy dandy thread burner one more time. Just clip that onto the pliers so that it's nice and sturdy. Warm this up by pressing the button. Go in and come off the thread. There, finished bracelet. And lots of new techniques. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.